Hello everyone and welcome to our house. I'm your host Chris Will, joined again by my two good friends Matthew Schwam and Ethan Silverman. Welcome guys.
What's going on, Chris?
We made it to a milestone episode, episode 2. I would have never thought we would have made it this far, guys. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's really exciting.
We got a lot of great content, a lot of things to discuss, and more controversial rankings for you guys. So without further ado, sit back, relax, and welcome to our house.
In a huddle, you know they in trouble, we bustin' they bubble. I know that we playing a game, but this gon' get real and turn into scuffles. The way I'm gon' touch you, every tackle I make gon' turn into fumble. They turning over the ball, my defensive line make sure that I score. Now all you gon' hear is a brawl. The crowd is in awe. What did you think was gon' happen? I don't know what you thought. You see, this is more than a sport. You made a mistake, you walked in the door. This come with a cost, you taking a loss. Let me remind you where you are. This is our house. This is our house. This is our house.
Alright, so there's a lot happening in the world right now, so that brings us to our first section of the show I like to call What You Got. So each of us has come with a story, and we're going to tell you a little bit about it, something that we think you guys should know. So Ethan, I'm going to start with you.
Alright, Chris, so as you guys out there may know, or if you're living under a rock, you don't know, there's a thing called the coronavirus going around, and despite the country reopening and starting reopening, cases are still going up. And especially here in Florida, cases are skyrocketing. It's a little scary, the fact that we're going to be able to go to college for 2 months and then have to come home and do quarantine all over again. So I don't know if it's ready. I don't know if the country's ready to go back to what it was. I still think it needs more time, and so that way so we can flatten everything out.
Schwam, what you got for us?
Well, Chris, I'm sure all you UCF kids know, but as UCF football returned with individual training this week, 3 players already tested positive with the coronavirus to kind of tie into what Ethan was saying about whether society is ready to kind of go back into the normal swing of things. I think this answers that question. UCF is joined by Florida State, Auburn, and a couple other schools that have tested, where their players have already tested positive for the coronavirus, and this is just individual training.
And Matthew, don't forget about Alabama. I think there was 5 or 8 players from that Alabama team that was just tested positive.
Yep.
It's scary, man. It's scary to see that some of these athletes are already testing positive and are starting to come back and work out together soon. So.
Yeah, and the most concerning thing about that isn't necessarily that you're concerned for the health of the athletes, but you're concerned for the health of the older coaches and their families as well, people that may not be able to fight it off.
Exactly. And especially right now, not even in sports, but all of these protests that are going on in the world, a lot of it, you can see a lot of pictures, not a lot of them are wearing masks. So that's a little scary too.
Yeah, speaking of the protests, that brings that to my story. So obviously over the past week or two, there's been a lot of social unrest and a lot of call for change. And we are beginning to see some tangible things, something that I think is long overdue. NASCAR, the Navy, and the Marine Corps just banned the display of the Confederate flag, something I don't know why it took so long to do, considering the fact that country went to war with the United States. So why we're displaying that still is a whole nother story. And the symbol it represents is actually extremely horrific. So I don't know why it's taken so long, but at least we are seeing some tangible things. Bubba Wallace called out NASCAR, and they promptly announced that they would be banning the display of the Confederate flag. Additionally, Deshaun Watson and DeAndre Hopkins have come out and called for their alma mater to change the name of their honors college, which is named after John C. Calhoun, a famous slave owner. I'm totally in support of these things. I mean, the names and the symbols that these represent represent horrific things. The one thing I will suggest is that we unfortunately can't erase our history, and if we don't continue to teach our history, then it's bound to repeat itself. So while I'm all for removing these symbols of hate and these symbols from our public, we can't forget where we've come from, and while it is unfortunate, we do need to remember it.
100% agree with you, Chris Will.
So now that we're done with that, we're going to switch over to a little game we have. So I have a bunch of celebrities that have been in the news the last couple of days, and I'm going to give you guys some hints, a little bit of their resume, and I'm going to see if you guys can guess who they are. You guys ready for that?
Lay it on us.
Bring it on, Chris Will.
All right, so the first story I'm going to start with, he was born in San Francisco. Does that give you guys any hints?
Just keep
The
going.
crickets suggest not. I'll go a
Keep
little
going.
bit farther. So he did unfortunately die at the age of 32.
Keep going.
He was famous for his films.
Clearly, I need to pay more attention to the news.
Most notably, his martial arts. How about that?
Ethan, you want to help me out here, brother?
Man, I'm trying to think.
Chris Will, I think you might have stumped me on question 1.
Martial artist film.
The only thing that comes to mind is Karate Kid.
You'd be close.
I was kind of thinking of like Jackie Chan, but he's
Jackie Chan is very much alive.
yeah, exactly.
so-
That's what I was. Or Bruce Lee, but he's been dead for a while.
Bruce Lee?
Wait, he just died?
No, he didn't just die.
Oh,
but
so
that
then-
brings me to my news story, though. ESPN just came out with the 30 for 30 on Bruce Lee. I watched it the other day, and it is actually very enlightening. A lot of the sayings he says are really powerful, really applicable to life, and if you haven't seen it, I definitely recommend going and watching
So
it.
what you're telling me, Chris, is that I got the points.
Yes, I think you won this one.
Oh,
Yeah, very nice.
All right. So hopefully you guys have a little bit better luck with this one, especially you, Schwam. I mean, that was a little sad. not
yeah, it
gonna lie.
was a little sad. I'll take that.
Okay, so our next individual, he was drafted by the Saints in 2006.
I think I can already guess this one, Chris Will. Is there a buzzer I can hit?
You can go for it.
I know Drew Brees has been in the news the last couple weeks.
He was not drafted by the Saints, Matthew.
Unfortunately, he was not drafted by the Saints, and it's not Drew Brees.
Oh, man. You know,
He was drafted by the
Ooh.
Chargers, right, Chris?
Correct. He was drafted by the Chargers.
Ha.
All right, so my next clue for you is he played for the Miami Dolphins in, I believe, 2011.
Keep going. Just keep going.
All right. He won a Heisman with USC.
Reggie Bush.
Correct. Reggie Bush has been in the news the last since yesterday, after his 10-year disassociation with the University of Southern Cal has come to an end, ending yesterday. Now, for those of you who don't know the story, Bush was handed a 10-year disassociation from Southern Cal as a result of his family taking payments from marketers to help with their living situation. So he was forced to not be able to be on the campus or anything with USC for 10 years, which I think is absolutely insane, all because his parents took some money. And also he did get his Heisman Trophy. He returned his Heisman Trophy. So my hope is he'll get that back. I think it's well deserved. I think the punishment definitely did not fit the crime at all. I think it's a lot for the NCAA to tell an individual that, hey, you can't be involved in any of your alma mater. So you guys think the punishment fit the crime?
I mean, not exactly. I think 10 years is a little too much. There
Well, at
definitely
first
should-
it was supposed to be permanent
Yes.
until the rule changed to 10 years.
I think that's a little too much considering the fact that he was just trying to help his family. I definitely think that there should have been some sort of punishment, but not that drastic.
Yeah, unfortunately, USC had to vacate a bunch of victories, vacate their national championship, and they lost almost 30 scholarships because of it. And they've never really recovered since. I mean, they're working their way back up, but when you lose scholarships, it's a little hard to bring people in. All right, so my next story.
Wait, before you start, just so everyone knows, it's 2-0. I'm winning.
I don't know how much more of this mental abuse I can take, you know?
All right, Schwam. Well, maybe you'll get this last one, all right? So this individual was drafted in the second round from The Ohio State.
Keep going.
This is football, by the way, just to
Alright,
give you a hint.
Keep going.
He's a two-time first teamer for the NFL.
I have an idea. I just don't know if he went to Ohio State, so Chris, just keep going.
He's currently an NFL wide receiver, so that gives you a position.
That blew out my window.
Yeah, that goes my guess.
And he currently holds the NFL record for the most receptions in his first 4 seasons.
Michael Thomas?
Yes, sir. Ethan took the sweep, Schwam. What's
Did I just
happening?
get sweeped by Ethan?
No, you got swept, Matthew. You don't get swept. You got swept.
Ooh,
4-0,
you're
that's
correcting
fine.
grammar, too. All right, so Michael Thomas has been in the news lately as he made a donation to RIP Medical to help members of New Orleans with their medical debt during trying times like this. It certainly helps. It's expected that his donation will help over 1,000 patients and be over $2 million worth of help. So definitely something positive during these rough times.
That's an amazing thing that not only Michael Thomas is doing, but there's companies like Nike, Jordan, Adidas that are all giving back to the community, which I think is amazing.
Exactly. So we will be right back. We have another game for us to play and some more controversial rankings. Apparently Alex Caruso is not the GOAT, so we got some more rankings for you guys. We'll be right back.
This is our house. This is our house. This is our house. This is our house. I got my head in a huddle. You know they in trouble. We busting they bubble. I know that we playing a game, but this gon' get real and turn into scuffles. The way I'm gon' touch you. Every tackle I make gon' turn into fumble. They turning over the ball. My defensive line make sure that I score. Now all you gon' hear is a brawl. The crowd is in
Welcome
awe.
back to our house. We're going to dive right into our next game I like to call Hot or Not. So I'm going to give you guys a couple of takes I have. And you're going to tell me whether it's a hot take or it is kind of reasonable. All right, so our first one. So I recently got a notification from ESPN about an article comparing LeBron James to his son, Bronny, in high school. Now, I didn't read the article because I thought it's kind of ridiculous that they would compare the two. But I do have a take for you guys. LeBron James and Bronny will play in the NBA at the same time. Hot
Yes.
or not?
Hot take, that will happen. LeBron
Hot
James
take,
will
that
play
will
with Bronny
100%
James.
happen. The way that LeBron is keeping himself healthy and the way that he's going right now in this league, there is no doubt in my mind that he will play at least one season with Bronny in the NBA.
Mr. Will, this is a no question. He's one of the the most athletic athlete in the entire world. He maintains. His body is in great shape, and he's gonna go for years. He can easily hang with Bronny for at least a year or two, I think.
And Bronny's what, a freshman? He's going to be a sophomore next year.
Mm-hmm.
That's at least 4 to 5 years. LeBron can hang in there for at least that time.
You think he'll hang on for that long?
I think so.
I think
But
he'll
I think-
definitely push for it, but I think one thing that would definitely need to happen is that the NCAA and the NBA would need to figure out their differences and take out the whole one and done. And if he could go straight to the NBA from high school, I think it'll for sure happen.
Right now, I don't think Bronny's ready to go straight
Oh, I don't
from
think
high
so
school.
either.
But what I think is going to happen, I don't think LeBron's going to be like an MVP caliber player. I think he's going to be like a Michael Jordan on the Wizards type of player, like that bench player with so many so much experience and knowledge. I think that's what he's going to be like.
Yeah, I could definitely see LeBron just for like media attention standpoint waiting to play with his son, because that would definitely bring a lot of attention to that family, which I think.
Honestly, I think that's really cool, and I'm pretty sure LeBron stated before that he's wanted for a long time to be able to play with Bronny in the NBA.
For sure. So our next one. So the NBA is expected to return. Some things are up in the air in terms of will NBA players go or not. But they keep talking about how teams have gotten rejuvenated. The Lakers are getting rejuvenated with energy. The Clippers are coming back to full strength from injuries. The Bucks and Giannis are getting their energy back. But one team I'm not hearing about is the Miami Heat. Hot or not, the Miami Heat will make the conference finals.
Hot. And I'll tell you why. We have so many. I'm sorry, the Heat. I'm not part of them. The Heat have so much potential and so much talent with Jimmy Butler holding the wheel, driving us to the Eastern Conference Finals. There's no doubt in my mind. I personally don't think that there's any team in the East that can stop the Miami Heat besides maybe the Bucks. But the Bucks, I feel like they're not a playoff caliber team. I don't think they're a finals caliber team. Not saying that the Heat are, but I'm saying that it will be one hell of a Eastern Conference Finals if those two teams meet up.
Mr. Schwam, what you think?
Well, I'll go hot, but I have a few concerns because, I'm a diehard Miami Heat fan. I think we've really built something here this year. We got a really special team and a whole bunch of talent, and I think they are very capable of going to the Eastern Conference Finals, especially with the strength on the East compared to the West. By comparing those, I think Miami is definitely a top team in the East and like a force to be reckoned with. With that being said, though, just like Ethan said, they are still a young team, and we all know that young teams without experience in the playoffs can really hurt you when you don't have that playoff experience, when you're down 2-1 in the series or 3-1 in the series and you don't give up fight. I think Miami is young, and I think that when they mature, they are undoubtedly going to go to the Eastern Conference Finals, but I still think they can make it. I just have some doubts.
Matthew, but keep in mind that the entire Eastern Conference in general is young. There's not many teams on that side that has been able to make it to the playoffs and stay in the playoffs. For the longest time, LeBron ruled the East, so he was able to take the Heat and the Cavs to the Eastern Conference Finals, to the finals every year. But now that he's left, there's no one really there. Like last year, Kawhi, who is now back in the West. Giannis has never been to the Eastern Conference Finals, and he's never been to the finals. And there's only the Sixers, and the Sixers can easily be beat by the Bucks and the Heat. But I did see this thing online that the Heat are looking to sign DeMarcus Cousins for the playoffs. Now, I don't know if he will be a good fit for the Heat, but it would be nice to see another all-star caliber player on the Heat to be able to push them to the next level.
It's been a while since DeMarcus Cousins has played, but he would at least provide some veteran leadership. Iggy is obviously there as well to provide that. But I think the East without a full net squad of Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving is so open for anyone to take.
100%.
So we're going to shift from the NBA now. We are going to go to another sport. With all that's going on in the world right now, this question has come up a lot. So, hot or not, an NFL team will sign Colin Kaepernick this year.
Hot. Because of everything that's going on right now, I think Colin Kaepernick has kind of spearheaded this whole movement before anyone even started talking about it. He was doing that years ago. And I personally think that he's a good quarterback in that he's been training. He's got the talent. I think that a team should be able to sign him. I don't see a reason why not. With everyone's talking about what they believe in. Everyone is standing up. And you're just not going to sign him because he was the first person to do it? Come on. And I don't want him to have, a pity sign. I don't want some team to be like, okay, yeah, we'll sign him, because he started this whole thing. No, he's a talented athlete, and I think that he can really do well, at least as a backup position or something like that. But I definitely think he deserves to be on an NFL team.
Schwam?
I agree with Ethan. I think the one good, really good point that he had was that the talent that Colin Kaepernick had, and I think not too long ago, before Colin Kaepernick did start his movement, he was a top caliber quarterback in the NFL, and he was a force to be reckoned with on the 49ers. And I think he stayed healthy. He's been training, and just like Ethan said, I think he's ready to come back into the NFL. And I think any NFL team can see that, especially more so now with everything that's going on. So I think that this movement going on has definitely helped Colin Kaepernick. I think that the fact that he stayed in fit and all is going to help him out, and I think he'll get signed.
And keep in mind that dual threat quarterbacks are starting to progress and become more popular in the NFL. And Colin Kaepernick was kind of one of the first to really be a top competitor because he brought the 49ers to the Super Bowl and he was able to compete and be a dual threat quarterback. I think there's no doubt that in my mind that a team should sign him.
Yeah, he certainly wasn't knocked out of the league because he wasn't good. I mean, he did bring that 49ers team to a Super Bowl. Whether they lost or not is a whole nother story. And he was definitely knocked out of the NFL because of the stance he took. I will say this, that whatever team does sign him is going to have so many more eyes on their team. Because as soon as their starting quarterback starts to go down a little bit, that fans and the media are going to be like, okay, well, why isn't Colin Kaepernick starting? So that's a question that a lot of GMs and a lot of owners are going to have to ask is, are they open to that? I mean, he's not in the NFL because of his lack of skill. He's out because of the stance he took, which has now become a stance that the majority are behind, and it's going to be a non-issue now.
Well, right now, we don't know if he can be a starting quarterback in the NFL. We haven't seen him play an actual football game in a very long time. Yes, we've seen clips of him training and everything like that. He looks great. But right now, we don't know if he can be a starting quarterback because there are so many great starting quarterbacks in the NFL. I think he would be a great backup quarterback, whether something, God forbid, to happen to the starting quarterback. I think he can fill that position well and still be able to contribute to the team.
Yeah, he's certainly better than the worst quarterback in the league, so he'll definitely get a spot somewhere, in my opinion. But where and when is yet to be seen, so we'll see.
Yep.
So as live sports are beginning to return, a lot of sports networks and a lot of sports fans have been forced to watch some of the classics. I'm not talking games, I'm talking movies. So this week, we are going to dive into another controversial ranking. We're going to rank some of the sports movies. So, Ethan, I'll start with you. What are your top 5?
Okay, so much like my GOAT argument, there are so many great sports movies that deserve to be in the top 5. I mean, some of my personal favorites that aren't in my top 5 are Caddyshack, which is an amazing golf movie. It's very funny. Happy Gilmore, another good golf movie. Waterboy. There's so many great. Field of Dreams, which, hold on, whatever. Let's get into my thing. At number 5, personal favorite of mine, Space Jam. I mean, you can't go wrong with Space Jam. Number 4, Field of Dreams, because it's just such an inspiring movie. I mean, you build it, they will come. It's a great movie. 3, Sandlot. I mean, how can you not love Sandlot? One of the greatest sports movies of all time, in my personal opinion. I grew up watching it. It's great. Number 2, Remember the Titans. I think it's such an impactful movie, especially right now, what's going on in the world. I think that movie is great. And it really puts everything in perspective for you. And number 1, because basketball is one of my favorite sports, Coach Carter. I think the message that that movie has, and I just think it's an overall great movie. But you got to keep in mind that some of the greatest movies right now, or greatest sports movies, are baseball. I mean, Bull Durham, Benchwarmers. You got all these great movies, and basketball movies like Mike, like it's just He Got Game. All of those movies. So.
Yeah, Ethan's definitely our classic movies guy, so I'll definitely respect your opinion on that one. So Schwam, what do you have?
Well, Ethan, I'll say your list is more respectable this time than the last. I'm gonna go with my top 5. At number 5, I put Benchwarmers. I think for me, it's actually just more of a personal reason because I watched.
Because you were a bench warmer?
I was gonna say you set yourself up for that one.
It's because I watched it with my family, and like that's just a family movie that we watched together. So definitely a great comedy movie, and it's a great family movie. At number 4, I'm going with an iconic Space Jam. I'm sure that's gonna be on everyone's list. That's just overall great movie. Number 3, I'm going with White Men Can't Jump. Another great movie. I mean, it's
Because you can't jump, have you?
well, that's funny with the ACL too.
Because torn ACL and all.
Moving right along, Ethan. Number 2, I'm going with Creed. I think the second one over the first one, but I think Creed and Rocky, I think those movies are just remarkably put together, and that brings me to number 1, which is literally any Rocky movie. I think literally any Rocky movie trumps any sports movie, and that is no question. No question. Those movies are so well put together. And those are my top 5.
You're going to be real disappointed when Rocky isn't on my list.
As long as I get Ethan's respect on this one, I know he's our movie guy.
That's a little respectable, Matthew.
So, I've actually never seen White Men Can't Jump.
It's a great movie.
Yeah, I should probably get on that. So, unfortunately, Schwab, my list does not have Rocky on it. It is in my honorable mention, though. So, my honorable mentions, while I'm at it, Dodgeball.
Yes.
That's a classic. That is a classic.
What are the
Beginnings of ESPN
what are the
to
5 Ds
Ocho.
of Dodge, Chris?
What's that?
What are the 5 Ds of Dodge?
Oh gosh, I could not tell you.
Dodge, dip, duck, dive, and dodge.
I'll always remember that now. Also on there, I do have Rocky in my honorable mentions. It is a classic series. And the Creed movies are good as well. You can't beat Michael B. Jordan. So, and then I have Friday Night Lights, a classic Texas football movie. I think most people have probably seen that, but I will jump into my top 5. I do have a different sport for each one, so I did keep it pretty diverse. Number 5, I have Cool Runnings.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys have. Okay, so at least Ethan has seen it. I actually watched this for the first time a couple weeks ago on ESPN.
It's great.
And it's a great story about the Jamaican bobsled team. I mean,
it's true.
It's a funny concept, a funny movie, and I thought it was super entertaining to watch. At number 4, I have Ford versus Ferrari.
I haven't seen
It's a newer movie, but I think the acting and the portrayal of the characters was like really good. Not to mention that it won a bunch of awards, and it is based on a true story. And who doesn't like racing? Like up close like that was pretty cool. Number 3, Space Jam. Obviously, movies with Michael Jordan are gonna be pretty good, and then you throw the Looney Tunes in there, it's pretty unbeatable. Number 2, I have Sandlot. I mean, it's a classic. I'm pretty sure everyone has watched Sandlot at some point in their life, whether you play baseball or not. And then number 1, I have Remember the Titans, Denzel Washington. It's just a classic movie. I mean, everyone.
Left side.
It's just a great movie. There's no beating it. So if you don't have that on your list, what are you doing with your life, Mr. Schwam?
Yeah,
How is
come on,
Remember
man.
the Titans not?
Have you ever seen the movie?
Of course I've seen Remember the Titans. It's
So
definitely
then,
honorable mention.
so finish this quote, Matthew. Left side.
Ethan,
you know you're the only one that
you're the only one who
remembers
remembers the quotes from the
movies,
movie.
right?
It's probably the most iconic quote in that movie. The guy's
I've
in
watched
the
the movie
hospital bed.
multiple times, and I definitely could not tell
The
you.
guy sits in the hospital bed. He goes left side, and then the other guy goes strong side.
I'm so sorry. I was trying to keep it not controversial, but now that I don't know the quote, I think we've gone a little controversial. So that's all the time we have for today. Maybe next time we'll do a little better with our rankings. It's been a pleasure. I hope you guys enjoyed. Let us know what your thoughts are on some of the games we played. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you all next time.
This is our house. This is our